With the three previously unraced tracks out of the way, our drivers are back to familiar territory. But Sonoma comes with its own difficulties, and track position will be critical. With drivers like Tyler and Kemp hovering near the lead of the points, will Claridge and Tixier have more to worry about than just each other? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch Round 7 of the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Ossian Puhaka. Behind the scenes is our director, Robert O'Brien, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sonoma has gone through many names over the decades, but let's head to our track guide to see what it holds in store today. Welcome to Sonoma Raceway, one of California's most famous road courses. It resides just north of San Francisco. It's been host to a wide variety of styles of racing, including sports cars, Indy cars, motorcycles, and even drag racing. But in recent decades, it's become most well known for holding one of NASCAR's rare road course weekends. For most tracks, this cornucopia would be a stretch, but considering the array of 5 different layouts to choose from, it's quite easy for the circuit to be adapted to any series needs. Most of the layouts clock in at around 2 to 2.5 miles in length and always feature an impressive amount of elevation change. This means many of the corners present the driver with a blind entry or apex. Some of these have a very distinct visual look, making them instantly recognizable. Corners such as the chute and the final hairpin feature street course-like walls surrounding the track, while the carousel is both picturesque and challenging. With few long straights, passing is often considered very difficult, but it rarely leaves races with a lack of action. Mistakes can be easy to make, offering opportunities for the brave. And it's not just the track itself which is tough. The pit entry's narrow path requires precise driving for those looking to make up time and leapfrog their competitors during stops. With more than 40 years of racing under its belt, Sonoma has become a staple for West Coast race fans. And what could be better than a glass of vino on a sunny hillside while the sound of engines echo around you? Well, there you see a little bit about this place, but Ozzy, with this being the short version, obviously, as we were talking before we came live, it's going to be tricky.
It absolutely will be, Joe. It's going to be a difficult racetrack for these drivers to compete in. It's going to be difficult to get a rhythm on here as well. If the world had any justice whatsoever, we'd be racing at Riverside right now. But sadly, that's a parking lot now and a failed mall. So we are here at Sonoma. It's not a bad racetrack by any means, but it's going to be a mighty challenge for these drivers. What you can see in the background of these shots, you can't see on the track map, is the undulation, the elevation changes that you talked about as well on the track guide there. Only one real good passing opportunity, and even that is a little bit sketchy. That's the last corner. Otherwise, it's going to be very difficult for these drivers to race each other. So what's going to be the key? Qualifying. Let's talk about that.
Absolutely. Before we get to it, though, we do have the championship points, and this one is a little weird. Now, Mick Claridge is winning, but he unfortunately will not be around for the second half of the championship. This is going to be his last race, and then he's taking back off on his ride around the world. So Tixier is sitting in a good position, but Bill Tyler and Neil Kemp have both been very consistent, and so has Jorge Nieva. But Jorge is the only one up there that hasn't taken a win. Those top 4 have all taken victories. Claridge has been back and forth despite having 3 of them so far already. Xavier Sanchez has been kind of threatening to maybe be there for potential wins, but just hasn't seemed to have the luck and been able to stay out of trouble as much. And then how about David Rossi? Both he and Nieva were former F2 level drivers, which is based on their iRating. They've since jumped up to F1 and found themselves just as competitive. So it's been very cool to see them continue to progress through the years. Now, Ozzy, we have the F2 drivers standings that I just mentioned, and that one is actually a little spread out now.
Yeah, it is. Glenn Becker's been really doing the Jochen Rindoff yesteryear with the F2 dominance. You got Don Peak in the second place and Rolly Wallbank rounding out the top 3, just 1 point behind Don, and then you got Jeff Saunders and Andrew Eng in the top 5 as well. Tim Porter, Jan Stefan, Douglas Nelson, Björn Ackerman and Christian Eschner in your top 10 on the F2 driver standings. We're doing the Nations Cup Yeah, we're doing the Nations Cup.
We are indeed. United States narrowly ahead of the UK right now. Mick Claridge, unfortunately, with the up and down season, has not been able to bring them up to the top spot. Spain is actually in third. And despite Tixier being in second, you have to go all the way down to fifth in the Nations Cup for Singapore, where he represents. Instead, he's being beat by Australia just narrowly there, up in the fourth position. It's a bit of a tight fight between Finland, Denmark, and Canada, trying to decide that seventh position. We'll see if any of that changes around during today's race, now that we are solidly into that second half of things. As for the race details, Ozzy, what are the drivers up against here?
32 laps of 2 miles or 3.2 kilometers each here at Sonoma Race Bay. You got open setups, which means you can fiddle with the car all you like. Got a lot of things you can do, especially with the chassis. Will you go soft? Will you go stiff? Do you want to add camber? Do you want to remove camber? Whatever you do, you have no spare car, so there's just one car to do it, and if you wreck it, you bought it. Drive-through penalty at 17 incidents. Don't be a naughty boy. But if you are a naughty boy, don't be any extra naughty, because you get disqualified at 25 incidents. And that's gonna be the gist of it. Now, Joe, as we go to the qualifying footage, I know you're the lead and I'm the supposed analyst here. But something I do want to talk about, mention briefly. I've been chatting with some of the drivers this week here at Sonoma, finding out what they're up against, trying to get some information, being a good reporter and all. And what they mentioned here in qualifying is that the cold tires are going to be an issue. Tire heat is going to be a real issue here. You can't really get heat into those tires here at Sonoma, so it's going to be a really sketchy run in the qualifying is what they said.
And there you can see the temperatures. It's early in the morning. It's only 9:30 a.m. virtual standard time out here in iRacing's California. So it's a little bit cool. And Courtney just took a provisional pole for the second lap in a row. Claridge's first lap, though, is within about half a second. He's still got a lot to make up. Ooh, he's really pushing the limit way to the outside. And he's brought back a classic paint for this car. Love to see this. This is actually painted after his real muscle car that he owns, and has paid homage to that a few times over the years. But we haven't seen this yellow and black scheme for actually a couple years now.
Yeah, it's great to see such a classic scheme back. Yeah, it's not a Renault tribute, don't worry. And that muscle car, rest assured, it's not a Renault. It's something far, far more precious than that. I looked it up earlier today, can't remember what it is. He's probably gonna slap me over the head with that, but let's see if he can slap Topi over the head with a good lap time. It was a little bit sketchy, so I don't think so. We'll see, but and he bins it and he improves by 3/1000ths of a second, and then he yeets himself, not cycling all over the board, but rather all over turn number 1.
Yeah, I think that was just full send, knowing that was his second lap. You and I were talking a lot about that. The front stretch here is not really a straightaway.
No, it's not at all. You got a couple of kinks there in that straight line. You can see it in the aerial shots of this track. Not right now, of course, because you're on different... no, not any less. I was about to say something else, but twisty part of this circuit. But yeah, the main straight, it's not flat out. It's not flat out at all. You have to lift a little bit on the first kink, and then you already come into the first corner where you kind of come into this uphill left-hander that keeps going, and you have to go down the gears 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and then you go to the uphill right onto the first corner proper. But here you can see it as you come to the last turn, through the last hairpin. You turn left, you lift a little bit here, then you go flat out and you lift again to the second kink, and this is where you start to brake as well. So that's really a section that is surprisingly difficult and underrated in its difficulty, especially with these cars, racing of which is more akin to that of motorbike racing than really modern car racing when it comes to the cornering technique.
That was Saunders putting himself up to 6th, but this is Neil Kemp, who is unfortunately not underrated but underqualified today. Only 9th provisionally with about a minute left. Remember, he's one of our top runners in the points currently, so he's got some work to do. Actually, where is Bill Tyler? Let me see if he is here today.
17th.
Wow. they're going to take a bit of a beating unless they have a very good race today. We already mentioned that qualifying is so important here. What about Ove train grade? A little bit unusually low for himself in 12th, but this is his second lap. As long as this one is clean, he still has the time to improve.
Yep, already got one win this season. The defending champion, of course, doesn't have a win this season, the defending champion, Uwe. He's usually been pretty good at qualifying, very aggressive driver, should suit him this track. Let's see how he got the temps down. He's currently 12th. Will he improve? I don't think so, no. There was no improvement on that lap.
Lap did get deleted.
All the way down.
Oof. Is Mats Linden and Christopher Kimry are only other two, I think, who can set times, but it looks like Kimry's set both of his, and Linden is in pit lane. That means our grid is now set. And up at the top of it, Topi Kortiniemi takes the pole position over Sebastian Tixier. Topi, I don't believe, has taken a win yet this season. No, he is not. Mick Claridge, in his last race of the season, most likely will be starting from third. Jorge Nieva fourth, and John Olsen in fifth. And it's Jeff Saunders on the outside of that row, followed by Sanchez in seventh. Laust Olsen P8, and then row 5 sees Neil Kemp on the inside of Gwen Old.
Yep, and then you get to the second page where there are a couple of surprises. As you can see, Richard Watson in 11th place, Uwe Trengeride is the surprise in 12th, Caddy Guell in 13th, David Rossi 14th, the defending Formula 2 champion. Then you got Ben Zogo 15th, Wade Sheedy 16th, Bill Tyler only 17th. He's gonna have to climb, he has a mountain to climb here at Sonoma. Gary Ho 18th, Marco Antonio Lopez Salgado 19th, and Paul Wilson rounding out the top 20.
Miller Haraski starts 21st, followed by Michael Grissinger. Then it's Kieran Sill, P23, Glenn Becker in 24th, and Bjorn Ackerman 25th. Christian Eschner starts 26th today. Tobias Harnvey will be in the 27th spot. After that, Yuri Giesen, Cam Porter, and Brad Cathcart round out your top 30.
Yep, and we still got more drivers for you. Terry Tromeshauser in 31st, Roberto Pancrazzi in 32nd, Andres Bruno in 33rd, Chance Stefan in 34th, then you got Andrew Eng, Jason Clapper, Kurt Clapper, Mats Linden, Christopher Kimry, and Alan Prihoda in 40th place. 40 drivers heading into turn number 1. Joe, this is going to be interesting.
Absolutely, and it's not that long of a lap at a minute 12 here, so the drivers will be kept busy by the lap traffic, no doubt, as it looks like the lights are up. The engines start to rev. The green flag is out. Ooh, bad start for 4th place there, and did not get going as they fly down towards turn 1.
Background. There is one car that got just yeeted into a horrible series of sidewinding snap rolls off turn 1, and there is a big crash in the background, as you could see. There's like 15 drivers involved. We got a big one at Sonoma.
We did indeed. So many of them just stopped at the side of the track. Unfortunately, that'll mean day over for a lot of drivers right at the start. We're going to take a quick look at the replay here. So Andrew Ang, one of them involved, he can see some of the smoke up ahead and everybody just coming to an absolute crawl. And even at these slow speeds, a couple of them getting tangled. The 29, that's Christian Eschner, that gets kind of popped up after he and the car beside him got all cluttered with each other.
I kind of want to see where, as we are following the lead pack, rightfully so, Korteniemi, Tixier, Claridge, Olson, Sanchez, Bill Tyler.
That's Tixier spinning on screen, and he's going to lose second place. He's down to 4th. Claridge and Olsen managed to get by, but at least he didn't hit anything.
Yeah, and Bill Tyler, he's all the way down to 26th. I wanted to just get that info on him because he was right in that pack that got crashed out. So Bill Tyler all the way down in 26th place. His race gone from bad to worse. And look at the damage on the left side of his car as well.
Yeah, Bill's got an even rougher start to this one now, but looks like he managed to go by Kurt Clapper there just a bit ago. So many cars are in pit lane, and I see a bunch of black and orange flags, so there are many that have been forced to have to come get those repairs. As we look at the number 15 of Jorge Nieva now, behind Xavier Sanchez. This will help out Nieva quite a bit against the likes of Kemp and Tyler.
Absolutely, and Nieva, a very good start for him. As you said, in the 6th position, and that's actually down a couple of positions, yes, from where he started, but he's still in a good place. He's following Sanchez, who we know to be very fast, following Tixier, who will be absolutely anxious to get back into that top 3 after his first lap mistake. So it's not a bad position at all for him to be in, and if he can hold on to the queue and keep David Rossi behind, then he's within a shout of, I'd say, a podium today, depending on what happens between Olson, Tixier, Sanchez, and co.
Interestingly, I'm seeing apologies from Neil Kemp. And yeah, it is Neil Kemp, of all people, that started that incident. Fascinating stuff. Because, again, he and Bill Tyler were the ones that we thought maybe would be the competitors to take the fight up to guys like Tixier. But unfortunately, it started the complete opposite of him. Instead, we've got one of our onboard cams here today having jumped, down. Laust Olsen down a position, but at least he survived some of the melee that we saw at the beginning. Here he is, and no pucker cam yet, so he seems pretty relaxed at this stage.
Yeah, I mean, he's just chilling, observing, really. And it looks like he's in a Teams call, trying to listen to somebody. And he has a slightly annoyed look, I think. I think he's slightly annoyed in the position he finds himself in. Would want to be a couple of places higher, but other than that, it's a pretty relaxed poster. And I think it's one of those posters as well that would, to me, indicate that he is one of the old school table drivers.
Yeah, he's been around for a long time. He's got lap traffic coming out the exact worst time. Andre Bruno emerges after his repairs have finished, and Olsen is able to get around safely. We jump up to Mick Claridge, trying to get one last win and using every inch of track he can going over those curbs.
Mick is one of the best drivers in the world when it comes to that. He's one of the last drivers you want in your mirrors. He's always fair. Make no mistake about that. He's always such a gentleman, such a great driver, and a great commentator as well. A great advocate for this Lotus 49 series, the Grand Prix Legends series. But when he's in your mirrors, make no mistake, he's absolutely merciless. Gave a bit of leeway to Topi in those first couple of laps. I was wondering if Topi was going to run away with it. Such a great qualifying time from Topi, the only one to go under 112. With a 111.9, but then you got Mick Claridge right when Topi was starting to relax, was starting to get in the groove. Mick is just adding to the heat, and it's like he's putting Topi, the Finn, into a sauna and just adding more and more heat, throwing more water over the stones, and Topi is starting to hunch over a little bit. I'm not sure he can take it. And Mick is just sitting there, back straight, all proud, saying, it might be my last race of the season, but I'll make it count.
Yeah, and Topi, no slouch, because he's one of only 20 drivers who have ever gotten podiums on both broadcasts, on 2 out of the 3 broadcast races over the course of the weekend here in the Vintage Series on GSRC. So he's been around, and he knows how to run these older cars, but so has Mick Claridge, as you said, just kind of hunting him right now. They're running away from John Olsen by about 3.5 seconds. In fact, some of our shots were not even seeing John in the background. Now he's starting to poke into the picture a bit. But this is early in the race. If they're already leaving him that far behind, I don't think Olsen's got the pace.
No, I don't think he's got the raw pace, and he's got Tixier on his tail as well, so that's an interesting one to watch out for as the race progresses, because Sebastian Tixier, he qualified on 2nd place, was actually 2/10 faster in qualifying than Mick Claridge, who goes for another fastest lap, and here you can see him, Sebastian Tixier, the man from Singapore, interestingly, I think it was, and he is now just 3/10 down, but you don't really need a stopwatch to see the gap between these two, and it's now about finding that overtaking position, which is easier said than done here. Last corner, last hairpin potentially. Outside of that, I don't see too many. Don't clip the outside wall, man. No, a little bit too greedy.
Oh, wow. He found a tiny little gap to sneak back around. I'm amazed that car is tracking as straight as it is. but it looks like he's going to get it going. It is almost street course-like in what they call the chute down there through that portion of the track with the wall right there, and he found out just how close the wall is, unfortunately. That was a great battle. It's a shame that got stolen from us. Just behind him, though, three-way fight between Geisen, Sill, and Wilson. You'll probably have to correct me on Yuri's last name, though. I feel like I never get it right.
Yeah, well, I have no corrections so far. I say so far. Geisen, I think it is.
Geisen? Okay.
Yeah, maybe. I'm a little bit rusty when it comes to that region of, Western European names in general. It's a little bit difficult for Finn because what most languages get wrong, and this is again Aussie language facts, what most languages get wrong is that the pronunciation and the alphabet is different. It's not a constant pronunciation. Whereas we in Finland, of course, do it right and have a constant pronunciation, so we never have to think about how a name is pronounced, unless it's one of those Swedish names, but that's a whole different story. Anyway, great fighting on screen, and you can see going very wide there is Sill going right onto that sand and slow car in the background. I think that was a lapped car there being overtaken, and that's going to be more and more of a relevant thing the further we go in this race, especially as we lost about 10 cars in that opening crash, and a lot of them will want to get some time back, and they want to get some laps back. They want to save whatever iRating they could to get at least a finish, even if it's not a great finish. So what I'm saying is that we're going to have a lot of slow cars out there on the track to get in front of the leaders, as we're seeing the Sill get up to the inside on the hairpin, but not quite able to pull it off. So a lot of slow cars, and they're gonna potentially get in the way of the leaders at some point in time in Sonoma, where you don't have too many overtaking opportunities. So that's gonna be an interesting thing to watch out for as well for our viewers.
18 positions gained for Yuri, but Kieran up 12 himself. So you're right. It's been a case of survival, most likely, for that number 21 machine, having put himself 28th on the grid currently. But looking at a potential top 10, it depends. It doesn't seem like Kieran's willing to sit around and wait behind him, though. Oh, as he bounds over that inside curb quite a bit. In fact, now he's going to take a little peek. But unfortunately, that orange 17 can't find the space here down at the end of the chute.
Geisen, apparently, is the correct pronunciation, according to our chat with Mercury there, being a Dutch and giving us that information. So thank you very much. Here through the SS, they are going through Geisen and Sill and Wilson, and all of those three still in close competition. You can see just how much Sill is catching up in the last portion of the SS, getting a great run of that last corner into the hairpin, and not quite able to utilize it to his advantage. I think he needs to be even more aggressive on the braking, but I think he lacks that mechanical grip. So what I'm thinking is maybe a slightly stiffer car, a little bit worse in the slow corners, a little bit better in the fast corners, being able to utilize the stiffness of that car, the predictability of the handling in the fast corners. But in the slower corners, he's worse off, and that means he can't really get the run off the corners, even if he can get a great run into them, and a little bit sideways as well, as we come to the NASCAR shortcut and onto the SS section once more.
It seems like Wilson is really trying to stick with him as well. I wonder, Ove Trangrade on the move once again. He passed Rossi not long ago. Now he's hassling Nieva just in front of him. I was going to say, keep an eye on Paul Wilson in the 12th position, because he's just kind of waiting behind those drivers in front for them to make a mistake. Meanwhile, Ove versus Nieva, and they have left David Rossi behind. As behind them, I just saw Laust Olsen lost a spot to Tixier, who's charging back through despite what is likely some damage. Trangrade gets close up through turn 2. In fact, it looks like he's starting to pressurize the number 15. Takes a lot of inside curb through 3A. And then, as they come down the hill towards the chute, he's not within range.
And I think 17, Sill has made some sort of error. He's going down the standings, and he is actually on the pit lane. Kieran Sill, who was involved in the battle, of course, with Geisen and Wilson earlier on. So
we might want a replay of this one, because this is a graphic illustration of the dangers of the front stretch right there.
Well, don't drift if you can't catch it.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like the UK&I driver is an honorary Finn today. And
Just snap back. He got the first part so well. The way he got that front end straightened out reminded me of the 2-foot magic save when just mashed the throttle and the brake. The way it just corrected, but then he just let go of it too quickly. Went back to the throttle thinking that okay, I can get back to this guy. Wanted to keep racing. Unfortunately, his tires were a little bit cooked after that initial slide. Just couldn't catch the grip. Just didn't have the grip and went sideways again and into the wall, and that's his race over. So that's and who was that? A lap car spun on the right in front of Tixier there. So that's an interesting sight to see as well. But yeah, as you said, graphic illustration of the dangers of Sonoma. Very, very difficult track, and there you can see why even the best in the field can and will make mistakes.
Tixier really ringing the car out. You can see him sliding it everywhere, and he's showing the damage on the nose of the car. The real concern is usually the suspension as they fly over the camera here that we've got underground there through the S's. This is David Rossi just in front of him. David's up 7 positions, as he tends to do. He's not usually a high qualifier, but a great racer. How much is he going to race Tixier? None. He's going to let him through.
Yeah, and that's one of those things that is a clever thing to do there. You got lap traffic coming up as well, and you know the pace Tixier has. You see him in the mirrors, bringing the car around. He mad. The boy is pissed off right now, and I would be too. You spun in the last hairpin, throwing away the second qualifying position, then working your way back onto the podium potentially, then sending it into the wall once again, and again you're making a mistake. So he's mad, and he doesn't have really too much to lose, and is in a mighty hurry to get back up into potentially the 4th place. Gonna have to overtake a lot of cars. Meanwhile, Topi Korten named Mick Claridge, round number 2. They got a little bit separated, but they found themselves on the track once again, and now Mick is closer than ever. And Choke, you'll take this one.
Whoa, as he has to catch the slide coming out of turn 10. And thankfully, he did not get it too far into the dirt, but he'd lost maybe a couple tenths in the process. Out of the hairpin, you could see the gap he has to make back up. It's been this back and forth for much of the race. Some of it, in fact, I'd say most of it, has been due to the lap traffic that they've been dealing with. And we did kind of earmark that early on in the broadcast, that was going to be a factor in today's race.
It absolutely is, and it's a factor in every race, more or less, when you got such a large field, 40 cars, mind you. But it is such a short track. You got lap times of 1:11s, 1:12s, just 2 miles, 3.2 kilometers. And yeah, that's gonna play an effect. The shorter the track, the more laps you have, generally speaking. The more laps you have, the more you're gonna have lap traffic in a shorter lap. And that's one of the things. And another thing is that, as we've well established in this broadcast, I think we're repeating ourselves if we say you have no overtaking opportunities at Sonoma once more. But you really don't. You really, really don't. It's so difficult to get alongside. It's one thing to get alongside in high speed in a faster car here, but these Lotus 49s, they have no downforce. In fact, they produce lift on a straight line. So just a little bit, but they do. They do have a lot of draft, but you have to lift off so early into the corners. A lot of them are fast corners that you can't really use that draft and use that outbraking to your advantage anywhere else than perhaps the last hairpin.
Well, and that view coming into the hairpin really showed us how much suspension travel these cars have. They were made for very bumpy tracks. In fact, they were probably taking into account on a few of them how hard they're going to land, almost like you're racing a short course stadium truck, trying to make sure that it doesn't bounce and bottom out in the process. As we watch from Trangrade now up to 5th position since he's gotten past Nieva. That's Xavier Sanchez just in front of him. Kind of goes by Heikki 360, even though he's not a Finn, but the Spanish driver, a popular streamer here on the iRacing service.
He is, and I've had the pleasure of both watching his streams and racing against him back in the olden days. Does a lot of Formula car racing, and that's what I like about him. Used to do Skip Barbers, used to do back in the day when it was still the Star Mazda before it became the Pro Mazda. So used to do a lot of that series as well, and has been moving on to the 79s, the classic Lotus racing as well, the historic racing, and it's always great to see more drivers, popular drivers, going on to that part of the world, and we see a great battle there as well. Some lapped cars and some cars on the lead lap, just mixing it up all together, heading on to the last hairpin. Wonderful scenes here, and that's Sanchez versus Trengrade. Really starting to heat up. Uwe, he started in 12th place. Didn't have such a great qualifying. We talked about that earlier, Joe, and now he's showcasing once again why the Norwegian is not only a past champion in this series, the defending champion, but also one of the most exhilarating drivers to watch when it comes to historic racing.
Yeah, Ove always puts on a show, and he loves to battle. That's the thing about him. He's not really here to just kind of settle in and let the race happen. He wants to have a fight out on track. Paul Wilson, in the meantime, is still hassling Yuri, and they are within almost car lengths of each other here. There was a little poke. That's going to be a tough one on that right-hander down into the chute to make that one stick. Thankfully, decided to back out of it as they now break into the end of that little shortcut and out to the S's. Oh, got some wheel spin. Couldn't get the traction down.
Yeah, and Yuri's going to have his hands full of defending this one. He wishes he was more like the other Yuri we know, who is very famous for mind control powers. But I don't think we will see Yuri's revenge on this one. Just going to have to hold Paul Wilson back with more conventional means, which is to say, block the line as he gets as close as possible. But most importantly, in a momentum track such as Sonoma, don't go defensive. Don't go defensive, especially not too early. That goes for any circuit, but especially here. It's so much about that racing line. And as long as you stick to the racing line, you're gonna be golden, because the guy behind has no opportunity, aside from a real desperate send. And even then you can get them on the crossover. You can always get them back. But don't give up the racing line, because it's golden here. But if you do start to be a little bit too anxious about the car behind getting that overtaking opportunity, as you can see there, Wilson is really looking up to the inside, really trying to harass, really trying to bait Gaysen into it, but Yuri is having none of it so far. So don't fall into that trap of trying to defend the inside line desperately.
And some drivers are really having to defend quite a few lines, because if we go to Cam Porter, I just noticed that he's got a string of cars behind him, all waiting to pass, but nobody's been able to do anything. And the other reason I bring him up is because he is also sending us his feed. Now, he usually doesn't have the pucker cam, as we've come to call Laust Olsen's, but I got to think there's some nerves on his face with how many are behind him.
Yep, absolutely. And oh, poor man lost all his hair from the stress. As if we have any room to say anything about that here in the studio, being two bald men. Probably a comedy show there, but I love that livery that he is sporting on that car. You know, that classic red. I think that's FF40s. I think that's just straight red livery, and then you got that checkered flag running down the side, the checkered livery. You know, it's really a racing feel. And he's using the H-pattern shifter as well. You can see his hand working it on the right-hand side, of course, and just looking like he's really properly enjoying himself. And why wouldn't he? He may have 6 seconds ahead of him, but he's in 15th place for car driver number 31. That's an excellent result. Unfortunately, he's going to have to keep a lot of drivers behind in order to keep that position. But so far, so good.
Yeah, and they're not close enough to attack right now. They were a little closer earlier on, but he seems to actually be able to stretch a little bit away and keep himself safe from so many. Poor Tobias in the 32 behind him actually was trying to fight off Jason Clapper for a brief while. But I agree. I love the vintage feel of Cam Porter's paint scheme that he's got on his machine. A lot of guys put really cool ideas. That's not how a 49 is supposed to drive into pit lane there.
No, that's Stefan. That's Stefan in the, I believe that was the number 38 machine. That was really looking a bit banana-ish. Banana.
Belongs more on the beach with how it's crabbing, unfortunately, and he's going to have to take it in for some repairs. Do we have a replay on how it got that way? Let's see. Well, it was already that way, it looks like.
It's really an interesting thing, and that indicates some heavy chassis damage, probably.
You think?
And yeah, I think, and Joe, I'm gonna really dive into my 15 years of sim racing experience here and say that that car has probably had some contact.
Maybe with someone or something, as I like to say. The lead has gone back down to 0.3 of a second. Mick Claridge back on top of things here as he keeps using that piece of racetrack that it's paved to the outside on the entry to the chute and trying to stretch it as much as he can. They go past the lap traffic of Andre Bruno as he pulls out of the way. I will say the lap traffic is behaving very well today. A lot of drivers who aren't really battling for position have had that damage just kind of pull off to wherever they can to get out of the leader's way, which I'm sure they appreciate, but Mick Claridge wouldn't mind if one of them decided not to get out of the way.
Yeah, I think he would. I think he would. I know what you mean there, that he wouldn't mind a little bit of assistance. But at the same time, I think he would mind that it would come that way instead of him working Topi into a mistake, because they've been at it all race long. It's a duel now. It's a proper old school dogfight with these cars, and it's mano a mano, Topi versus Mick, and neither of them are about to back down, but neither of them are the kind of drivers who would resort to dirty tricks or treachery either. So I think we're gonna see a great one with these two. Mind you, they're coming up into that queue we were just talking about earlier, behind Cam Porter. They're about 5 seconds maybe behind that queue, a couple of seconds per lap faster, and that was a mighty model of cars that you can just see ahead of them, and they're gonna have to pick through them one by one. So that's gonna be, and all of them are pretty close to each other, having their own individual fights as well. Probably aware of the blue flags, aware of the situation that you got Topi and Mick coming up behind you, but it's just an interesting situation when that starts to happen.
Yeah, I mean, they won't want to pull off to the side very quickly. This one, Wade Sheedy, is too far back, so he decides to concede the position, let them by. But I think by the time they get up to Roberto Pongrazi, Gwen Olds, they're fighting for position. They're not going to just pull off to the side, I think, for these two, at least not very fast. They're going to wait until it's a convenient place they can lose the least amount of time and to worry about their own race. And in fact, Mick Claridge is getting more and more threatening. He talked about treachery, old age and treachery here from Mick Claridge with all his experience. No doubt has some tricks up his sleeve.
Absolutely. Let's see how many of those we'll see today. Both of them bouncing over the curbs. Both of them going a little bit sideways. Mick even more so, trying to sneak one up. Looking to the inside, he's giving that impression of I wanna come there, I wanna pass you, I'm still here in your mirrors, just letting you know about that one. And also taking the early line and showing the lapped cars, which is very both very professional and very interesting to see, is that how early they're showing their intentions to the lapped cars. I want to come up the inside here, and usually the lapped car is giving way as well. We had the old communication system back, I don't know if they still use it. Back in 79s, we used to use the tap of the radio button, because of course in iRacing we have driver-to-driver radios, so you can see the radio chatter on your screen, and you just tap the button, the push-to-talk button on the radio.
Whoa.
And it shows your name, and that's the way. That's a way to say thank you. You don't actually say thank you.
Sorry, Mick had a real close moment with a lapped car coming out of pit lane in a blind spot, just about threw himself off the track as well as into the back of that car, and yet he's still 4/10 behind. He's unfazed despite the scare and is still in it. This is all about 12 seconds ahead of John Olsen, who they've really left in the dust at this stage. But now they're getting ever closer to the battle between Old and Pongrazi. Although I say that, excuse me, I think Old's down in 34, so apologies. That's not for position, actually. But Gwen is, for some reason, all over the gearbox of Roberto at this stage, and that could cause a problem because they nearly came together just now. If they have a wreck right in front of the leaders, that would be dire for these two. Whoa, and there's...
Mick! Oh, Mick! Whew, that could have been disastrous.
He lost a lot of time, though. He still has 11 laps to try and make this up, but a big slide, a lockup of all 4 tires, and Claridge goes sideways through the final hairpin. 3.5 seconds between himself and Topi now.
That's gonna get clipped. I'm just saying. And
What happened to
Olsen as well.
Laust?
He's on the pit lane.
Oh,
Yeah.
he had a wreck.
So it seems. Let's see what happened to Laust Olsen here. Oh, caught a little bit of the sand on the outside and just going a little bit too wide on the exit. Yeah, that's what can happen so easily when you're fighting. Just get a little bit too greedy on the exit of the corner, catch too much of the outside of the curb, and then you head nose first into the wall, head on into the wall, and you just barely have time to clench, and then the wall's already there. It's so narrow, and despite these cars being lively, being constantly a little bit sideways, you don't want to catch the rear tire onto the sand there, onto the dirt. That's not something you want to do in any car, but especially not with these, man. They are already on such a knife edge. Just any slight blow, any slight push, even with 2 fingers, over the edge, and that's just gonna be it. Game over.
Well, we've been watching Wilson here. He's been bumped up into the top 10 because of Laust Olsen's issue, but he might lose it because that's Michael Grissinger in the green machine just behind him, putting him on the defense at this stage. They do have Kimry back there, but he's a lap down. He's not in this fight. And then Yuri just ahead in the 21 has been trying to kind of use this distraction to scamper away from the pair of them. He's only been able to pull away to about 0.8 of a second. So he's not fully past this fight. They could still catch him back up. We'll see how it unfolds as they get ready to start lap 24.
Yep, so that would be, with quick maths, 3/4 of the race done after this lap is concluded. So, yeah, great to see the variance in this race, in that we're seeing a lot of not necessarily new names, but old names in new positions. So you got Wilson up in the top 10, you got Yuri in 9th place, you got Rossi in 8th place having a great race. Really a good competitive showing for him, knowing his limitations, but also about to pick up a whole bundle of points from this one. And then you got Glasinger, Zogo, Ackerman, and Cam Porter. He's now up to 14th as a result of the mistakes from Laust Olsen we saw earlier on. And he still hasn't been lapped either. So I think for me, he's one of the drivers of the race, but also this battle so interesting to follow and so interesting to compare and contrast, Joe, to the what we saw from Topi and Mick earlier on. I know it's an unfair comparison, but it's really curious to me to see the differences between their racing lines, between their approach, and between how the leaders, Topi and Mick, were approaching lapped cars to how these guys are approaching lapped cars. Because I think that comparing and contrasting is also important for them in order to improve their level of driving, but also for us to really see the differences between the good drivers and the great drivers.
Yeah, in fact, they're just about to get lapped soon. It's all the way up to 13th position that they've lapped the rest of the field behind that. It's about 20 seconds, less than 20 seconds to get to Wilson, as that's Bjorn Ackerman, the last one on the lead lap currently. In fact, this actually might be good for Topi and Mick, because that's the last of the lapped cars for quite some time before they get to Bjorn. They've got a couple between them and Bjorn, but they're ways up the road. So that's going to be at least a little bit of a reprieve for them. The number 1 of Topi Kortiniemi has the highest iRating of the whole group here today. And he's trying his darndest to prove it once again why he has that number.
Yeah, number 1, it's an indication, as for those who don't know, your number comes from your iRating, and iRating is an ELO system indicating how good of a driver you are. You win races, you get more iRating, you lose races, you get less iRating, and actually you lose iRating. It's a zero-gain system. So that means that Topi has been winning a lot of races, he's had a lot of great results, and that's why he has the highest iRating of the field, meaning he's predicted to be the best driver in the field, and he has the He is numerically the best driver on the field as well. A lot of things play into that, especially in a series such as this one, as we see Tixier very close. Don't worry, I saw it. A lot of things play into it. We see a lot of series regulars that only race these historic cars or only race 49s. They might have some deflated iRating, or because they don't race that often, maybe only a couple of times a week, and they might be down in numbers 20 something, for example, but being better Lotus 49 drivers than a lot of higher iRated drivers who come into this machine, which is so unlike anything else on four wheels that exists today. So it's a really specialized machine, as we see Tixier really bringing it around the track here, Joe. Really just trying to get the position away from Sanchez.
And it shows you how tough it is once you get to the top of things, because Tixier was just passing him left and right. He got by Gayson, Rossi, Nieva, but now he's been stuck behind Sanchez for a couple laps. Can't seem to really do anything with him, and I don't think Sanchez is just going to roll over and let him through.
No, I don't think he is, because you got 5 laps to go at this point. So why would you? And Sanchez knows from his vast racing experience, he's no slouch as a driver at all. Couple of podiums this season already. Knows his way around this car. Knows that he's probably not as fast as Tixier, but as long as he keeps it on the racing line, it's going to be very, very difficult to get past him unless Tixier throws a Hail Mary. Unfortunately for Sanchez, he's well capable of doing that.
And Pongrazi is in front of them. We'll see if he hops out of the way. You'll see him in the white car. Yeah, they're at the lead of this train. This would be a good spot for him to go wide, but no, he's going to hold the racing line. Oh, and that causes an accident, trying to sneak around them. It looks like Tixier will be able to get past, but Sanchez finding himself almost 4 wheels in the air as he pops over the tires of the lapped car, somehow has got it turned back around, and at least the car is still moving.
Yeah, Jorge Nieva now behind him, a couple of seconds away, but I hope Sanchez is not too badly damaged. And it doesn't look that way, you know. The car looks all right, probably not 100%. Oh, and we see the number 7 there, Benjamin Zoko, off the track as well, now down in 13th position. I wonder what happened to him. A lot of issues later on.
Yeah, let's watch the replay, because he and Michael Grissinger are vying for position. I think this one's a little on Grissinger. It looks like he gets wide. Yeah, clips the grass, couldn't get it turned in, and the pair of them just slide off the track.
Yeah, I like the polite way to say a little bit on him, as if he didn't just barge right through the track. But of course, mistakes happen when you come into a tight line on a tight corner like that one. You're turning on a much tighter radius than taking the optimal racing line, so that means you're gonna understeer through the track, and at that point he just couldn't really get the car slowed down enough, unfortunately for him. And here we see a great battle again. Cam Porter, Bill Tyler there, a lot of drivers involved in that one, and that's gonna be a difficult one for Cam Porter to try and fend off.
By the way, Jason Clapper in this group, up 20 positions, but we're used to seeing that. He tends to start from the back without setting lap time, as Wade Sheedy, who is a lap down from them, is going to unfortunately separate them. And Clapper, he's very polite in that situation. I think I would be quite frustrated if I lost touch with a group that much in that situation.
Yeah, but then again, it's one of those things that happen in racing. Lappers give and lappers take away, so it's unfortunate, but it is what it is. And here you can see just Bill Tyler just trying to really get that wreck of a car, unfortunately involved in that early incident, wreck of a car around Cam Porter. And I'll tell you what, if Cam Porter can actually hold on to 14th here, can keep these drivers behind him, I'm gonna buy him a sandwich. The man's deserved that, because it's such a difficult scenario for him. Such a difficult thing to not only keep one car behind you, but also these other guys. If you're gonna start to get too defensive, maybe somebody surprises you, sneaks up on you. Less so on road courses, but it can still happen. And now he's trying to get used to how Bill Tyler's driving, and behind them, I think that's Clapper.
No, that was Sheedy. Oh, but that was enough of a distraction. Here comes Bill Tyler, trying to make the move on Cam Porter, finds the inside, and he's through. That opens the door for Jason Clapper as well, but Clapper can't capitalize on it. Looks like Porter will only lose one for now, but great heads up by Bill Tyler. I don't know if he just saw a chance when maybe he could keep Cam Porter from watching where he needs to watch, and he just snuck through.
Did Clapper just try around the outside? He tried, certainly. Yeah, I agree with you. A great heads-up driving from Tyler. Opportunism as well. It's usually opportunism, and being opportunistic. It's used as a dirty word almost in racing. That you're too opportunistic. You're just throwing your car into her. But it's not a bad thing at all. You have to be an opportunist to get past in racing, especially on a track where it's so difficult. And here you can see just Clapper walking over Cam Porter, trying to find his chance there in the SS section. I wonder if he's gonna try to pull a bit of a Bill Tyler into the last corner.
He could. I say all's fair in love and war. If a driver sees an opportunity, it's worth at least giving it a shot, seeing if they could maybe make the pass as we look at Ove Trangrade just outside the podium now. It's been a good day for the number 10 car, up 8 positions, and a realistic shot at this, but we're on the final lap. If he's going to pass John Olsen, he's going to have to do it in a hurry.
Yep, he doesn't have too many opportunities here now. 10 corners left in this race for Ove Trangrade, less so for Topi and for Mick. But we're gonna follow this one at least for the time being, and I don't think he's gonna do it on the last hairpin, because I think Olsen just might see it coming. It's the obvious overtaking spot. It's the one that Uwe is predictably gonna go for. I think Uwe's gonna have to get a great exit and get alongside him before that. And he's certainly trying. I mean, look how wide he is. Wow.
Oh, unbelievable stuff. But we got to go to Topi Kortiniemi. Ever since that problem for Mick in the hairpin, it's been no contest. Topi's up to 8 seconds ahead, and Mick has had no answer. Topi Kortiniemi, it's the first race of the weekend. There's only been one Triple Crown winner, but this might be the first on the way. We'll see if he takes part in the other races, but he's going to win the first as he takes victory at Sonoma.
Great drive from Topi and great drive from Mick as well. Thank you, Mick. It's, we say farewell to Mick for now, but what a great drive for him. He gave it his all today, and in the end just came short. One mistake, it was all it took. And then that great battle between Olsen and Uwe as well, ending up in John Olsen's win.
Yep, he takes the podium here today. It's close between Sanchez and Nieva down to the line, but it's going to be Sanchez who finishes in 6th ahead of him.
Yep, so got a bit of damage near the end from that last contact, and I think Nieva got very close due to that, but just managed to hold on to that 6th place. Now we see Paul Wilson as well finishing, about to finish inside the top 10. A great result for the Australian driver in the car number 14. Very close to, I think, a Zogo as well in 9th. Is that Ben Zogo?
No, that's Yuri Geisen. Yuri Geisen,
oh, right,
just in front of him, and they're going to tangle right at the ends. That's I think that was just accidental there, as they were trying to wring it out all the way to the finish. Ackerman is indeed the last one on the lead lap, 11th in the end, after a couple other drivers came into each other near the end of the race. That's going to take us to a quick break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews, so make sure and stick around. Welcome back to Sonoma Raceway Round 7, and the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series sees Topi Kortiniemi take the win, becoming our 5th winner of this season. Claridge, in his last visit for what might be quite some time, was only able to manage 2nd, but he certainly gave it a good run, was threatening Topi for the majority of the event. John Olsen just narrowly gets himself into 3rd ahead of Ove Trangrade, who climbed up from 12th to that 4th position. Excellent drive. Seb Tixier, a little bit accident-prone today and has to settle from the front row down to 5th as Xavier Sanchez was P6. And then as Jorge Nieva in 7th. David Rossi gaining about 6 positions here into 8th as Yuri Gayson was 9th. And Paul Wilson up 10 spots to finish 10th.
Indeed, and we got more finishers as well. Björn Ackerman, last driver on the lead lap, finishing 11th. Benjamin Zogo in 12th place, 1 lap down. Bill Tyler, unfortunately 17th in qualifying, and he had a difficult race from the beginning. Got caught up in that huge crash on the lap number 1, but was able to fight his way up to 13th. Cam Porter, 14th, great defensive drive for him. Was able to keep Jason Clapper behind him in 15th. Roberto Pangrassi in 16th. Then got Terry Tromeshauser in 17th, up quite a few positions, as was Mats Lindén. Kurt Clapper 19th, and Tobias Hernvi rounding out your top 20.
From there, you're already down to drivers 2 laps down with Salgado, Ang, and Prihoda. Down to 3 laps down with Andre Bruno 24th. Grissinger, who was in a nice fight there towards the end, unfortunately made a mistake and took himself along with Zoko out, and he wound up back on track in 25th. Stefan was in 26th, Cathcart 27th, and Olsen in 28th, who eventually returned to the track. But from there, you get into the DNFs for most of the other cars, a few scattered amongst them that managed to repair, but were many, many laps down by the end. I do have Topi Kortiniemi, our winner, ready to talk to us. Let's have a little bit of a chat and see what the battle was like from his perspective, because Topi, it seems like Mick in one of his last races with the series for a while was trying really hard to end it on this win.
Yeah, I think I was taking it easy because I know this track, it's hard to pass, so I was just avoiding to not overcook the tires, and I knew I could defend against Mick. He had no chance.
Yeah, it looked extremely difficult. The traffic certainly came thick and heavy very early because of that wreck at the start. Did that make it more difficult, or even with that traffic, was the defending that easy?
I think it made easier because I think something happened to Mick when we were passing a pack of laped cars, so I can't complain.
Well, so we've been kind of looking more into the stats of what we've been deeming the Triple Crown here on GSRC, which is winning one of each of the vintage series over the weekend: Lotus 79, the 49, and the Camel Series. You're one of only 20 drivers that have podiumed on 2 over the course of the weekend. You've got 1 down. Can you maybe be only the 2nd ever person to go for the Triple Crown of wins, or there's never been that anybody other than Jamie Fluke that's also taken at least a podium in all 3?
I haven't had any practice for Camel or 79 this week, but maybe I'll ooh it and try it.
We'll keep an eye out for it. Figured I'd bring it up because, again, it's something that's kind of intrigued us behind the scenes lately. But congratulations on a win, and hopefully we will see a little bit more this weekend.
Oh, thanks, Joe.
Topi Kortiniemi taking the win today. And 2nd goes to Mick as he gets ready to take off. Ozzy is going to talk to him.
So, Mick, why do you suck so hard?
I'm not even going to answer that. Brilliant, Ozzy. Nice one, mate.
Getting it out of the way early on. No, it was great watching you and Topi race. Man, it's... First of all, you've been having a couple of races earlier on this season, and a couple of drivers mentioned the qualifying being very difficult. Was it?
It was for me, yeah. This is another dig, isn't it, Ollie? Ozzy, yeah, nice one. Yeah, I messed up my second lap. I don't know if you guys saw, but I had a massive slide going up over the little crest there. And yeah, that was it. It was annoying because me and Toppy were so close on pace, and we would have been really close in qualifying, so it would have been a real gamble who would have got pole there, I think, if we had both nailed our laps, you know. But yeah, fair play to Toppy, man. No one gets on power earlier than Toppy.
Yeah, that wasn't actually a really dig as much as it was like a genuine question. I was trying to wonder about trying to eke some information about the cold tires and whatnot that were mentioned earlier on. But yeah, we watched your lap, you were sideways a lot. So how about the race? How was it chasing down Toppy, knowing that there's not going to be too many overtaking opportunities, at the same time lap traffic being an issue, all of those things. So how was the experience for the first 3/4 of the race?
Yeah, do you know what? I was really enjoying it because me and Toppy was having a chat earlier on in the week, and he was saying, listen, I'm using completely different lines to you through here and blah, blah, blah. So we was having a good old chat, and this is the first time I've seen it. So it was great just to see what was going on that was different between us, you know. And I mean, man, I was on the limit trying to keep up with him, and I was doing well down the front straight. You know, I was able to keep the hammer down and keep it floored all the way around the front straight. So I was catching up there, and then he was getting away from me in the back end of the track. You know, and I just couldn't get close enough to get that pass down into the last turn. You know, it just wasn't going to happen. So I just thought, okay, let's just wait for some back markers because there was going to be tons. It was almost going to be like a multi-class race, you know, and. So that's what happened, but yeah, I mean, the back markers are great in this series, as you saw. I mean, no one really got in our way. I mean, I messed up because of myself, but yeah, if you lose the back end once in this car, Ozzy, you've lost all your pace, and you really have to hold back to get the tyres back. And yeah, that's what happened there in the last corner.
Yeah, we saw that. You getting a little bit sideways. Great job keeping it out of the wall and honestly making it only a half spin. But we all saw the race was over after that one. And so from what I've heard, so is your season, mate. It's sad to see. I mean, but it's gonna be try number 4 for the round the world trip. Well,
officially it would be try number 6, but we won't go into that. But no, it's this is the last race. It's always like a bittersweet feeling, you know. I really want to get on and get the ride done, but man, you have races like that, you know, you just feel like, oh, do I really want to go? You know, so yeah. But no, I am going, and yeah, this is the one, mate. I'm going to get closer. This is the one, Ozzy.
I believe you.
Make sure. So, who's going to carry on front?
GSRC ASMR. Yeah, with Mick and Ozzy. Nobody wants to listen to that. Okay, right, mate. I think I'm getting dirty looks from the producer now. We should probably end this lap parade. So, Mick, anyone you would like to thank to? Anyone you'd like to greet to? Send any regards to after the race?
Yeah, I want to say a massive shout out to Douglas Nelson, and this goes from the whole community. Douglas isn't well at the moment, and he's fighting a bit of a serious illness. So, and he's got some surgery coming up. So, good luck to him. Doug's only been with us a short time, but he's like one of the guys that's just completely fitted into this community, you know. So we all love him. We're all thinking of him. So, good luck, Doug.
Yep, good luck, Doug, from the GSRC crew as well. And Mick, thank you very much. Good luck in your round the world trip. You'll make it this time. And see you around.
Cheers, mate. Cheers, Ozzy. Cheers, guys.
That was Mick Claridge in second. And up next, we've got Yuri ready to talk to us. And Yuri, a gain of 19 spots from the start is no mean feat. But I got to think some of those maybe came from the wreck at the start, did they not?
And it felt like proper Moses out there, me going straight down the middle and all kinds of wondrous stuff happening on the side. So yeah, I think a lot of that came from the crash. I think it was P11 after turn 1. Really, it was amazing.
You got to take what you can get, but then you had to really buckle in and hold back a couple drivers that were threatening you for much of the race. Paul Wilson distinctly seemed to be very interested in that position you held.
Yeah, especially since I took it off him. He made like one little slip up into turn 2, and then he ran out wide, and I stuck it underneath and went away with it. And then he spent the rest of the race trying to get it back. But props to him. He was a proper gentleman, not doing any kind of weird stuff, and just trying to poke inside, but never making it dangerous. So that was a really awesome fight. Tense all the time.
It's been an interesting series of tracks, and the uniqueness is not going away when we head off to Monza combined next time. How do you feel about those races? Because those can always be a bit wild themselves.
The Monza races, or the ones like Sonoma today?
The Monza race coming up.
Yeah, that's a bit of a wild card, isn't it? It's I've had good results there, but that means that I haven't been in a lot of crashes. And if you talk to John Olsen, for example, he said he finished like 1 out of 6 when we got there. So I guess I'm on the lucky side there, but you never really know. And it's kind of cool to run that banking and do this the retro style, so to speak.
Well, thanks for coming and talking to us again. That was quite the performance from you to really capitalize on an opportunity falling in your lap. Anybody you want to shout out before we let you go?
Well, obviously Paul for today, and a little bit to Kieran as well. He kind of bit his own lips trying to get past me and spun out, and he was definitely faster. So I kind of felt sorry for him after he tried that. I think you have it on the broadcast there. And so and to the community, obviously, and to Mick for he's going to go away for a little while, and I suppose you've talked about that for in the past few minutes. So shout out to him as well for doing this awesome journey.
Well, thanks for talking to us. You're Gaston there in the 9th position today, gaining a lot of spots, but another man that really moved up the order and did a great job with defense. Ozzy has caught up with Cam Porter.
Yeah, Cam, Mr. Camera as well, Porter. What a race for you, man. Seeing that classic livery, seeing you there on the screen, and what a result. You had cars behind you all the way through. You survived that first lap incident and ended up 14th. I mean, man, you're sweating.
Yeah, I am. I was working hard today. Jason Clapper especially was pressuring me the entire race. I was thrilled to survive that lap 1 crash. I was, shout out to Bjorn Ackerman for putting, if you see smoke, hit your brakes in the chat before the race, because that reminded me to do that, and that's what helped me survive. As soon as I saw smoke, I hit the brake. I lost a few positions, but just carnage everywhere. I managed to make my way through, and then I had a really fun battle with Jason the entire race. And when Ben and Bill came through, I think it was Bill Tyler, caught up and passed me. Yep. They were obviously they had way more pace, but I was surprised I held them off as long as I did. But that was a really fun race, really thrilling.
And your drive was great. I don't think you put a foot wrong really all race long. You were really able to find consistency here. Was Sonoma the kind of track that just suits your driving style, that you found likable, or was it more getting used to the car and getting used to the setups and so on?
Well, Sonoma is not one of my better tracks, actually. I usually struggle here. I did find some pace during the race. I managed to get into the 13s after qualifying. I'm barely getting into the 14s. And then once I finished the race, I'm like, oh, I get in the 13s. That's great. So obviously I found some pace over the race, but I always pick up some pace when I got someone that's like right behind me pushing me. So thrilling race. Very happy with this result today.
And you absolutely should be. We're going into somewhere a little bit faster next week. Will we see Cam Porter at Monza as well?
Difficult to say. I have an event coming up the second week of February, so I don't know if I'll make the race. I think I will. Monza is going to be a crazy race. Obviously, focus on survival. That's the only thing I have to do. Hopefully, I won't get caught up in any wrecks.
Yep, for our viewers as well, Monza combined without chicane. So you got oval and you got the road course, but here we got Cam as well. Anyone you would like to thank after such a great result? Anyone you would like to send a shout out to maybe?
Yeah, shout out to Jason Clapper for a really thrilling race. He was throwing everything in the kitchen sink at me, and I was, like I said, I was surprised I was able to hold him off. But he raced very clean, like Yuri said. Just didn't try anything crazy or too dangerous. So yeah, shout out to Jason. We'll see you again in the next race.
We'll make sure we do. Thank you to Cam Porter for the interview, and congratulations for the great result.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Cam Porter finishing 14th out there today, but that's going to wrap up our interview. So a big thank you goes to the Grand Prix Legends community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. And also thanks to the team today, Rob, Ozzy, and Dougie. Make sure to check out our social media, our website, and our merchandise store. And don't forget to check out or to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC. As we've been saying, Monza's up next. That'll be Saturday, February 4th at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. But be sure to check out our other broadcasts listed here, including the Camel Series, which is coming up at noon. But until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.